Gaige Grosskreutz crumbles under cross and admits to the fact that this entire thing was self-defense. Just like I said that he would, when people started speculating whether or not he would take the stand. So, well, we won't do the chair spin yet, but we'll talk a bit about that coming up. The New York Times posted out an article talking about the fact that people are dying left and right in emergency rooms and the deaths are getting redder. Just like I said that they would. Chair spin number 2, confirmed. We'll talk about that just a little bit later. State Farm stands by Aaron Rodgers as we go into the argument as to whether or not all the football players need to get vaccinated going in to play football. So we'll talk just a bit about that. And Gavin Newsom is missing. Nobody knows where he is, nobody knows where he's been, and nobody can find him as everything is falling apart in his state as well. It is going to be all this and more, and let's go, Brandon. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. So I posted on Twitter right before I went live here. Actually, it was the live announcement over on Twitter that Gaige did exactly what I said that he was going to do. And we will talk, I'll talk about this. I really need to go back and check for the video off of this. All the way back at the beginning when we started talking about the Rittenhouse trial. Wow, why is my mind going blank all of a sudden today? Yeah, we talked about it right at the beginning of the Rittenhouse trial. And they said if Gaige gets up there, he's going to blunder and he's going to blow the entire thing under cross. Well, fuck you. I was right. He did exactly what I thought that he was going to do. He got up there and he gave a nice flowery speech about how much of a paramedic he was, and all the pieces fell into place from the prosecution. Or, I'm sorry, from the defense attorney. I had to say prosecution because it does sound like he was going after the guy like he was a prosecutor, like he was trying to prosecute Grosskreutz, but yeah, man, oh man, we're going to talk about that, and that's, I think, going to be the crux of the show today, but we are going to talk about the vaccine mandate as well, and some of the other things that are coming on from our federal government over on Contemporary. But before we get started, guys, do make sure you go check out turnsandpagesproductions.com. We got, we have a wonderful site planned here. It's just right now a matter of trying to get it up and get it funded here. So if you guys can get this link out, shared out far and wide to everybody that you know, see if they would like to get their news from a guy in a t-shirt in his bedroom rather than a guy in a suit that costs more than his house. A guy that has had to make some of the same decisions as your friends, Steph. Do I go out? Do I hang out with friends? Do I live alone? Do I have kids? Can I afford to have kids? Stuff like that. We've all been through that struggle. And a lot of these elites that we get our news from now don't. So go check out turnsandpagesproductions.com and make sure while you're there you go check out the Daily Ignoramus, the Breakdown with Breckenhoff, the R-Rated Conservative, the Freckles and Brit Show, and the Porch Boys. Porch Boys coming up tonight here. Go check that out too. It looks like they've got a pretty good show going on as well. Otherwise, go and check out our GoFundMe. Get the funding link back out here. Let me get that up in the chat for you guys, as usual. Thank you to our new donor, by the way. We did get another donor coming up here. Make sure you get that link out far and wide for people, too. I gotta check and make sure that Steven is getting that link out there as well. But, yeah, go and check that out. It's a great time. It's a great cause. And, yeah, we hope to get you better news than what we're currently getting off the mainstreams. All right, let's look at finance here for the morning while the rest of our friends are gathering in with us. We had a great audience last night, too. We had a huge audience last night, so thank you, everybody who came by and checked us out. Make sure if you liked what you saw, you come back and subscribe and come back and hang out with us again. Looking in at the Dow had a Well, it was an update. Closed at another record here coming up here, but it was, it just kind of held steady throughout the day here. The futures are on the way down, and yes, I took too long, and of course the chart has gone back to its green, so the markets are open at this point, but ending yesterday at 36,432.22 points. So, after coming back down to almost the previous close again, going back up, looking in at your Bitcoin. Your Bitcoin had a very, very good day yesterday. Let's get this refreshed off of last night. But last night it was 68,303 US dollars. We had a slight decline overnight, but still not back down to the 64,000 it was yesterday. 67,749 US dollars and 30 US cents. And my Shibu is coming back too, I noticed today. I looked on that right before the show, and well, I have lost money on Shibu, I will say that, but it's coming back. I don't know if it's going to come back or not. It's kind of fallen out of the headlines again, but hey, if that becomes the next meme one, well, I won't be begging for GoFundMe cash, I can tell you that, if that becomes the next big meme one, with the number of Shibu that I have. Scrap prices, looks like they are looking very, very good right now. Let's get a refresh off of that. All majors are up, all major industrials are up, copper, steel, and aluminum. Looking at your individuals, it looks like your regular copper proper plays are up, but brass actually looks like it might still be struggling here. Thin wire, flashing copper, copper tubing, that's all coming up. Brass and brass shells are both down. BX steel is up, light iron is down, number one steel is down, cast iron is up. Rotors are down, complete car is up, shreddable steel, stainless steel are both up. On the aluminum, also mixed. Siding has come back up. Aluminum copper fin radiators are up. Regular aluminum radiators are down. Cans are down. Sheet aluminum is down. Rims are up. Again, up, up, up. On your other plays, motors are down. Mix of aluminum and copper. Ballasts are up. Lead is up. Car and truck batteries are down. Your catalytic converters are mixed. Check your make and model. Compressors are down. Alternators are down. Carbide is down. Hard drives are up. Motherboards are up. So a lot of stuff changing here, a lot of stuff moving over here, and it looks like some of the industrials are getting ready to go back out onto the market. I'm a little surprised hard drives and motherboards are down the way that they are, because you would think with the chip shortage, those things would be like gold right now. I'm sorry, I actually took those wrong. Those are both up right now. You would think those would be like gold right now. People trying to get the raw materials to come back and make more chips. But that's what we have coming up here. Let's see what IBD has to say. Let's go ahead and get the chat back up here. From Investors Business Daily, Dow Jones Futures, is stock market rally overheating? Roblox skyrockets 36% on earnings. From Scott Litonin, Dow futures were slightly lower early Tuesday after Monday's stock market rally as the Dow Jones Industrial Average hit record highs. Roblox skyrocketed as much as 36% after reporting earnings late on Monday. On Monday, the Dow Jones Industrial Average moved up 0.3%, the S&P 500 rose 0.1%, while the Nasdaq climbed 0.1%. Among the leaders, Apple moved down 0.6% Monday, while Microsoft gained 0.3% in today's stock market. American Express, JP Morgan Chase, and Nike continued to trade near new buy points in the current rally. Tesla skidded nearly 5% on Monday after Elon Musk, the company's chief executive, proposed a potential sale of his shares that move us back to the top of the article. With no close option. Okay, you go away. Among companies reporting earnings, PayPal, Roblox reported earnings after the close on Monday. Palantir Technologies will report ahead of Tuesday's market open. Among the top stocks to buy and watch, Academy Sports Outdoors, Adobe, Goldman Sachs, and Li Auto are in or near buy zones. Microsoft and Tesla are the IBD leaderboard stocks. Academy Sports is an IBD swing trader stock. Apple featured in this week's Stocks Near a Buy Zone story. Ahead of the stock market open on Tuesday, the Dow futures lost 0.1% versus fair value, while the S&P 500 futures inched higher. Nasdaq 100 futures rose 0.2% versus fair value. And remember, trading in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. Among exchange-traded funds, innovator IBD 50 moved up 1.3% Monday. NASDAQ 100 tracker Invesco QQQ Trust lost 0.1%, and the SPDR S&P 500 ETF ascended 0.1%. Late on Monday, the price of Bitcoin advanced to all-time highs, topping out at $68,525 according to CoinDesk. Bitcoin's previous high was set at October 20th at 66,974.77. So we are still above the previous record, but there are a few things that are moving and shaking along with this. I noticed that Latonin doesn't have a lot to say about the treasury yield, the bonds, or anything else that's coming out of the government. And I do think that some of this spending does have people worried a little bit. I mean, yes, it looks good for the industrials, it very much does, but we're coming into the fact where they're about to go print, money printer go burr on another $1.2 trillion. Oh, don't worry, man, that's all paid for, I promise. It's gonna be all those rich people, I promise. It's not really paid for. I mean, you have to understand this. And we are coming up. December 4th is going to be the last day that they have the debt ceiling, and I have heard nothing, and I watch this stuff every day, about the negotiations on the debt ceiling. Are we going to come to another moment where this is, okay, well, we got to throw this in at the last minute and figure out what's going on with this. We can't use a reconciliation, it's too late. The deadline's going to come, and Schumer's going to hold McConnell's feet over the fire again and say, oh, you're going to destroy all these jobs coming into the holidays. Mark my words, this will be the other thing that I will come back and say, fuck you, I was right about. But that's what we have coming from here. Let's grab one from CNBC. Dow Jones futures edge lower after new highs. GE jumps on news it will split into 3 companies. From Pippa Stevens. U.S. stock futures were mixed during early trading on Tuesday after the major averages closed at records boosted by strength in infrastructure stocks. Futures tied to the industrial average dipped 75 points or 0.2%. S&P 500 futures traded in mildly negative territory, and NASDAQ 100 futures edged up 0.1%. Shares of GE rallied at the industrial giant announced it will split into 3 public companies focusing on aviation, healthcare, and energy. I'm actually a little surprised that all 3 of those were all housed under the same umbrella to begin with. Now, yes, I understand that they're all going to be making the same person rich, no matter what, but I am a little surprised that they've always been one company, GE, with aviation division, healthcare division, and energy, especially the healthcare and energy divisions. I thought for sure those would come back out and split, but I mean, we'll see what happens with that and where that goes off of that. The stock rallied more than 7% in pre-market trading. Investors are awaiting the release of the October Producer Price Index, which measures the cost of final demand manufactured goods. Economists surveyed by the Dow Jones are expecting the producer prices to have risen 0.6% month over month in October. I don't know. I've been to the store lately and seen how much the receipt tape goes up and how much less I get in my shopping basket every time I go. I mean, there was a time where $20 at the grocery store was like, wow, that's a bunch of money at the grocery store. And now it's like a rotisserie chicken and the vegetables to go with it. Maybe it's a little bit more on that, but I mean, you get where I'm going off of this. I mean, it is nothing to put $20 into a shopping cart anymore. All 3 major averages rose to new highs on Monday's regular trading session, which marks the S&P 500's 64th record close of the year. The S&P 500 added 0.09% and closed above 47,100 rather. Wow, I can't talk this morning. For the first time, the Dow gained about 104 points or 0.29%, posting its 44th record close of the year. The NASDAQ Composite advanced 0.07% to post its 11th straight positive session, the longest daily winning streak since December of 2019. Oh, I don't know who Dean Stockwell is. Do I need to look this up for the morning show? Do I need to get in off of this? Let's find out. American film actor Quantum Leap, Blue Velvet, and Dune dead at 85. I don't know who that is. But hey, he got 85 good years, so we can't say anything really bad about that. I hope he enjoyed them. Infrastructure-related stocks were among Monday's biggest winners after the House passed the spending package on Friday evening. Materials was the top-performing S&P group, rising 1.23%, while the industrial sector closed at a record. And yeah, we're going to start to see some of those metal prices coming back if the spending on infrastructure actually gets spent on infrastructure, which I have yet to see evidence that it's going to. The passing of the traditional infrastructure bill is a strong positive for the economy and for markets, as it should result in positive return on investment for the country, said Chris Zaccarelli, Chief Investment Officer at an Independent Advisor Alliance. Infrastructure is one of those expenditures which is truly an investment with an expected positive return on money spent as opposed to pure expense with relatively little chance of getting the money back, he added. Strong earnings results have also supported stocks and running to new highs. Through Tuesday morning, 459 companies in the S&P 500 have reported quarterly results, with 81% beating earnings estimates. With Q3 earnings seasons winding down, economic data and the progress in economic reopenings will gain in importance in investors' focus. From here to the end of the year, noted John Stoltzfus, Chief Investment Strategist at Oppenheimer Asset Management. So, a lot of stuff moving, a lot of stuff going here. As far as the industrials go, we will see what happens with the markets, but I'm a little bit wary just because of what we've seen coming out of this and people talking about whether or not the market is overheating right now. This will definitely be a thing to see, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. The blocking of the vaccine mandate probably saved the Biden presidency. I know they're going to go back and try to force it back through, and I talked to somebody who now has a suspended Twitter account yesterday talking about and angry about the fact that I said that I was happy about this thing getting slapped down. This is probably going to be what saves the Biden presidency. This might be the thing that keeps his presidency from going down as worse than FDR and worse than fucking Carter. This might be the thing that keeps him as a moderate milquetoast one-termer president. It might actually happen. So he should be down on his knees if he can get back up off of them and saying, "Thank you, Mr. Dude in the sky who runs the Catholic Church. I don't know what your name is because I can't remember, but thank you for that because now I'm not going to completely destroy the economy." But we'll see what happens off that. Let's get into the big news of the day. We're going to start today once again with the Daily Wire. Man shot by Rittenhouse confirms teen fired after being advanced on with gun pointed at him. And let's start, before we even get into this article, and let's start with the Viva Fry selection of video that came from, I believe this is from Raktia Legal that was watching this. Let's actually listen to what was said here. We're going to listen to a couple different videos of this, so strap yourself in, just because this was just too juicy to ignore and not see. Where's my music? There it is.
It wasn't until you pointed your gun at him, advanced on him, with your gun, now your hands down, pointed at him, that he fired, right?
Correct.
Oh, shit! That's it!
That's it.
Directed verdict. Directed verdict on all the murder charges. Kyle knows.
Yeah.
Directed verdict on the murder charges.
He just exhaled. Kyle just, oh, he looks like he's gonna cry.
How do you not acquit after that? Look at Bigger. Look at Big Boy. Oh, Big Boy. Oh.
It wasn't until you pointed your gun at him, advanced.
How do you not acquit after that?
Look at him. There's the Picard facepalm right there. There it is. We talked about this last week at the beginning of the trial when I first heard that they were going to bring Gaige Grosskreutz out in the sand. I said, he's going to crumble under the cross-examination because he done wrong. He was in the wrong in that situation. He came in. He had a gun in his hand. Everybody, except for the people who are deliberately lying to themselves, knew that he had a gun in his hand. Hell, he went on CNN and said he had a gun in his hand. He went home and told his roommate, who might actually wind up testifying if they don't come back and end this right now, and told his roommate, I wish I had unloaded the gun into Kyle Rittenhouse. Fuck! He said it on CNN! We all watched it. I picked it apart on this channel. We all saw this happen. And I knew that if he got up here, if they were stupid enough to put him on the stand, he was going to end the prosecution's career. And this move is copyrighted, so I can't actually do this. But you guys know what's going on with this. I can go out to my truck and get my aviators and get my fingerless gloves again. I'm sure my leather jacket is somewhere around here that I can throw that back on. No, that's out in the truck too. Let's keep going with our friends over at the Daily Wire. A man shot by then 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse last year admitted in court on Monday he was pointing a gun at Rittenhouse when the teen fired. Rittenhouse shot Gaige Grosskreutz, then 26 at the time, during a riot in Kenosha, Wisconsin. In August of 2020, Grosskreutz, then armed with a pistol, had approached Rittenhouse moments after the teen had been attacked by two others and was laying on the ground. Grosskreutz pointed his weapon at Rittenhouse before the teen, who was armed with a rifle, turned his firearm on Grosskreutz, firing and hitting the older man's arm. Under questioning from Rittenhouse defense attorney Corey Chirafisi, Grosskreutz testified that Rittenhouse fired on him after Grosskreutz had pointed his pistol at Rittenhouse. Chirafisi began the line of questioning with a still image from a video showing the moment Rittenhouse shot Grosskreutz, showing Grosskreitz's arm being vaporized, as the witness said. So this will be a slightly longer clip, but of the same thing.
That's a photo of you, yes?
Yes.
Okay. That's Mr. Rittenhouse?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you'd agree your firearm is pointed at Mr. Rittenhouse, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And once your firearm is pointed at Mr. Rittenhouse, that's when he fires his gun. Yes?
No.
Sir, look, I don't want to... Does this look like right now your arm is being shot?
That looks like my bicep being vaporized, yes.
Okay. And it's being vaporized as you're pointing your gun directly at him. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so when you were standing 3 to 5 feet from him with your arms up in the air, he never fired, right?
Correct.
It wasn't until you pointed your gun at him, advanced on him, with your gun, now your hands down, pointed at him, that he fired, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't know how you come back from that. I don't know. Let's do this one more time.
Yes.
Okay. That's Mr. Rittenhouse?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you'd agree your firearm is pointed at Mr. Rittenhouse, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Which everybody knew, by the way. And yes, there was the viral photo that was circling around. I noticed that it was often when one of the leftoids over on Twitter tried to come back and defend and come out and say, oh, no, he had his hands up. He wasn't a threat. He had his hands up. They always show a still photo. They never showed the video. They always showed a still photo of that moment. And it wasn't from this angle, because we only had the one angle. Everything else had been deleted, taken off Facebook. I mean, it was given over to local law enforcement, but it had been deleted, taken off Facebook, taken off YouTube, everything else. We had just the one angle. And even there, you could see that the gun was coming down, pointed at. Never point your weapon at something you don't intend to destroy. And furthermore, if you point your weapon at something you intend to destroy, and that thing that you have that you intend to destroy also has a weapon off there, then you need to be prepared to face off with the consequences. Which Grosskreutz did. He's goddamn lucky to be alive right now. He leveled a gun that he wasn't supposed to have. And this is the fun part about this, because let's go down the charges. The charges that left-wing Twitter, not necessarily what the prosecutions bring down against Rittenhouse, but what left-wing Twitter is trying to bring down about Rittenhouse. He should have never been there. He had to travel so far. Antioch, Illinois. 15 minutes from downtown Kenosha. I know, I've made the drive numerous times. Gaige Grosskreutz. West Dallas, Wisconsin. 40 minutes from downtown Kenosha. I know. I've made the drive numerous times. I only lived a mile from where this happened. I know exactly how long it takes to get to both of those locations. Rittenhouse, carrying a firearm, open, while underage. He should have never had a firearm. This completely mitigates all of his self-defense. Grosskreutz, as pointed out by the persecution, and the defense, by the way, both of them, on an expired concealed carry license concealing his firearm. Now, this is important. Because in Wisconsin, and I know, because I go through it, open carry is perfectly legal. I can, without a permit, go take any one of the arms around this home, strap it out to my hip on the outside, just like a police officer, and walk around with it. Nobody can say goddamn thing to me. Now, if I go into Madison, they will still say a goddamn thing to me, unless, of course, it is posted, private property, that no firearms are allowed here. And there is a city ordinance in Madison, too. But unless it is posted private property, statewide, no permit required. Walk around with it on your hip. Nobody's got dick to say to you about it. But the second you cover it up, if you're not permitted and you get caught with that, you are in commission of a misdemeanor, usually, unless you're a repeat offender. Then I believe it's a felony, but you're in commission of a misdemeanor at that point, and once it's covered up. So there we are. Gaige Grosskreutz, expired concealed carry license, with a gun in the small of his back, on a holster, with the shirt covering it. There's the same thing once again. Actually, I do want to come back to this one here. So Rachel Bovard also points out off of this, with the Viva Fry video, which let's just look at an epic facepalm once again.
How do you not acquit after that? Look at Bigger. Look at Bigger.
Look at him. Look at him. Both of them are like, oh, fucking shit. Oh, fucking hell. Look at that. Look at the faces on those two. Can I get away with this one more time?
Acquit after that. Look at Bigger. Look at Bigger. Look at Big Boy. Oh, Big Boy.
And then Rachel Bovard, who quote tweeted this back out, points out correctly. Don't forget that Facebook immediately labeled Kyle Rittenhouse a mass shooter and shut down every attempt to raise money for his legal defense. PayPal and GoFundMe dumped those efforts too. I hate the fact that I have to use GoFundMe for the fundraising for the website, because they came back and did that. But it is the best known. It's the easiest one to go back and do. It's the same thing with using PayPal. They've been so biased and so wrong off of this. I mean, at this point, Rittenhouse has a suit against both of those companies as well, because, you know, they discriminated against him without having any of the facts come in. He was not a mass shooter, and that is also a jury taint, by the way. This jury was so tainted. And now, if there isn't a directed verdict, and we'll talk about that for just a second. Let me grab one other tweet here before we get into that. Because at this point, Julie Bossman, who made a lengthy thread basically transcribing the testimony. I don't know if she's a former stenographer or whatnot, but she is a Chicago bureau chief for the New York Times, a former newspaper. Sifting and winnowing, I guess, are her hobbies here. But she, throughout the day yesterday, had been making a stenographer's report on Twitter, just live tweeting out everything that was happening through this. And she had to come out and say, correcting a tweet from earlier testimony, Grosskreuz's gun was lowered and pointed in Rittenhouse's direction when Rittenhouse fired at him. Correcting herself off the tweet thread that says, Day 6 of the Rittenhouse trial begins in Kenosha. This morning, the first witness is Gaige Grosskreutz, the third person who was shot by Rittenhouse on August 25th, 2020, and the only one who survived. Yeah, there's a ton of stuff moving in this particular situation. There is a ton. But this is over. Now, a lot of Twitter has been talking about directed verdict at this point. They've been talking about the fact that this is something that should be required to do. And I'm actually going to part with most of my Twitter friends on saying this because this is not as clear-cut as they think that it is. Now, as far as Anthony Huber and Gaige Grosskreutz, yes, this is clear-cut. When Gaige Grosskreutz came out and admitted the fact that he only lowered his weapon and got shot when he lowered his weapon and pointed it at Rittenhouse, that ended completely the chance that he had to collect $10 million from Kenosha, because he's also suing Kenosha for $10 million. That ended that right then and there. He might go to jail at this point. I don't know if there's going to be a statute of limitations on this because it has been over a year at this point, but he might go to jail or at least have to pay a quite hefty fine for what he confessed to on the stand under cross-examination. As far as Rosenbaum goes, a lot of this, I mean, to anybody with a half a brain, this is a clear-cut case of self-defense with Rosenbaum, too. Because in the instant, Rosenbaum was grabbing at the gun and shouting, fuck you, and a shot had just rang out behind Rittenhouse. I would still call that self-defense in that situation. Presumed self-defense. But there is enough out there to come out here and poke some holes into this and say, okay, well, this might not actually be self-defense because he was unarmed. That is the only thing that Binger has left at this point. Well, Rosenbaum was unarmed, so it was still a murder. Yes, I understand the fact that he was trying to have the gun, he was trying to grab at Rittenhouse's gun, but he had said, shoot me. If I catch any of you outside or around this, I'm going to kill you. I understand that. But that is legitimately the only thing that Binger has left to try to hinge the rest of this case on. Because the attempted murder and the murder charges on the other two, those are gone. Those are done. That is finished. So this is not as clear-cut of a directed verdict yet. I don't know if Binger is going to come back and flounder and come back and try to say, oh, no, trust me, it was Rosenbaum was unarmed. He has the opportunity to do it. I don't know if he can, but everything is folding off of this. And what did I say? This really looks like the prosecution is trying to throw this case. Like they're trying to throw it away because they didn't want to prosecute it in the first place. Now, given the reactions, I don't know if that's going to be true because now that they're so frustrated off of this, but man, we look back at the events of the last week and a half, and how can you not be coming out here trying to throw the case when you put Gaige Grosskreutz on the stand knowing, because there's no way, they're affiliated with the state, there's no way they didn't know. There is no way they didn't know. They've seen all the video. There is no way they didn't know what the actual facts in this matter were and what was going to come out across. They watched all the same video. They watched the gun getting lowered. They saw the still photos. What did you think was going to happen when a competent defense came up and looked at this and said, were you fired on before or after you lowered the gun? Oh, it was after I lowered the gun and pointed at him. And if they do still try to come back off of this and try to pull back off of this, all it takes is the defense to come back out and pull the roommate out and say, did this man say, I wish I'd unloaded the gun into Rittenhouse to you? But I mean, the New York Times is floundering. CBS is floundering. There are still people out there that are trying to come back and say that, no, this was definitely, you know, he was going to die. He thought he was going to die. Let's move into some of the mainstreams here. CBS, WYMT, Mountain News out of Hazard, Kentucky. Shooting victim says he was pointing his gun at Rittenhouse. From Michael Tarm, Scott Bauer, and Amy Forliti. So I recognize these names as well. This comes not from WYMT proper, but this comes to them from the Associated Press. Why don't I have any music up? We gotta have some nice chill music as we listen to talk about Gaige Grosskreutz epically fucking himself on live TV. A protester and volunteer medic wounded in the streets of Kenosha by Kyle Rittenhouse testified Monday that he was pointing his own gun at the rifle-toting Rittenhouse unintentionally, he said, when the young man shot him. Gaige Grosskreutz, the third and final man gunned down by Rittenhouse during the night of turbulent just listen to the fucking propaganda in this too. During the turbulent racial justice protests in the summer of 2020, took the stand at Rittenhouse's murder trial and recounted how he drew his own pistol after the bloodshed started. I thought the defendant was an active shooter, the 27-year-old Grosskreutz said. Asked what was going through his mind as he got closer to the 17-year-old Rittenhouse, he said, that I was going to die. Rittenhouse shot Grosskreutz in the arm, tearing away much of his bicep, or vaporized it, as the witness put it. Rittenhouse, now 18, is on trial on charges for killing two men and wounding Grosskreutz not for fucking long. The one-time police youth cadet from Antioch, Illinois, had gone to Kenosha with an AR-style semi-automatic rifle and a medical kit in what he said was an effort to safeguard property from violent demonstrations that broke out over the shooting of St. Jacob, hallowed be his name. Persecutors have portrayed Rittenhouse as the instigator of the bloodshed. His lawyers have argued that he acted in self-defense. He could get life in prison if convicted of the most serious charges against him. Yeah, that's not happening. Under questioning from the persecution, Grosskreutz said that he had his hands raised as he closed in on Rittenhouse and didn't intend to shoot the young man. Persecutor Thomas Binger asked Grosskreutz why he didn't shoot first. That's not the kind of person I am, man. That's not why I was out there, he said. It's not who I am. Definitely not someone I want to become. But during cross, Rittenhouse defense attorney Corey Shiravisi asked, it wasn't until you pointed your gun at him and advanced on him that he fired, right? Correct, Grosskreutz replied. The defense also presented a photo showing Grosskreutz pointing a gun at Rittenhouse, who was on the ground with his rifle pointed up at Grosskreutz. Grosskreutz, under follow-up questioning from the prosecutor, said he did not intend to point his weapon at Rittenhouse. Wisconsin's self-defense law allows someone to use deadly force only if necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm. The jury must decide whether Rittenhouse believed that he was in such peril, and whether that belief was reasonable under the circumstances. Grosskreutz said he had gone to protest in Kenosha to serve as a medic, wearing a hat that said paramedic and carrying medical supplies in addition to a loaded pistol. He had his permit to carry a concealed weapon had expired, and he did not have a valid one that night. I believe in the Second Amendment. I'm for people's right to carry and bear arms, he said, explaining why he was armed. And that night was no different than any other day. It's keys, phone, wallet, gun. He said that he went into action after seeing Rittenhouse kill a man just feet away, the second person Rittenhouse fatally shot that night. While Grosskreutz said he never verbally threatened Rittenhouse, Shiravisi, the defense attorney, said that people don't have to use words to threaten others. They can do so by their actions. Like running down after them on the street with a loaded firearm, Shiravisi said. On cross, Shiravisi sought to portray Grosskreutz as dishonest in its description of the moments the night before he was shot, with Shiravisi asserting that Grosskreutz was chasing Rittenhouse with his gun out. Grosskreutz denied he was chasing Rittenhouse. Okay. Chat, what do you call it when somebody is running in the same direction as somebody who's fleeing, screaming, "He just shot that guy, let's get him." Because I would call that a chase. Would you not? I mean, I think that's the general agreed terms that we have here. I might be wrong. I don't know. But I think that's the generally agreed upon terms. And I mean, it doesn't seem like it was very hard to portray Grosskreutz as dishonest. He seems to be very, very dishonest off of this. In addition, Sheriff Vesey pointed to Grosskreuz's lawsuit against the city of Kenosha, in which he alleges police enabled the violence by allowing the armed militia to have run of the streets during the demonstration. "If Mr. Rittenhouse is convicted, your chance of getting $10 million is better, right?" Sheriff Vesey said. Sheriff Vesey also asked Grosskreutz if he told his former roommate that his only regret was not killing the kid and hesitating to pull the gun before emptying the entire mag into him. Grosskreutz denied saying that. At the defense table, Rittenhouse took detailed notes when the witness spoke about the moment he was shot. And then some history on Grosskreutz. I mean, he was a trained medic, of course, but he was also, a Viva Resistance type. And does it say what group he was with? I know he was with a resistance group. And I'm sure that CBS is not going to come back and say this by any stretch of the imagination. Grosskreutz, who was trained as a paramedic, testified he volunteered as a medic at protests in Milwaukee in the days after the St. George riots, hallowed be his name. In May of 2020, Grosskreutz said he attended around 75 protests before the night that he was shot, offering to help anyone needing medical attention. Yeah, he was going all over the place to come back and do this. Like, all over the place. Minnesota, Minneapolis, he was going to western Wisconsin, he was going down to Illinois, which meant that he was crossing state lines with a firearm. But yeah, this is just completely dishonest. Let's grab one from the USA Today. Gaige, Grosskreutz, shot by Kyle Rittenhouse, testified at his trial. "I thought that I was going to die." And a lot of this is going to be a lot of the same information that we just saw here, but this is the USA Today trying to point this and spin this into a positive light on Grosskreutz. So that when Soccer Mom America picks up USA Today, it's, "Oh, a poor paramedic! Oh no!" Gaige Grosskreutz testified Monday that he always carried a gun for protection, but that he couldn't pull the trigger when it might have saved him from being shot by Rittenhouse. Grosskreutz, 28, said he had just seen Rittenhouse fire twice at a man who tried to kick him, and once fatally into the chest of a man who had come at him with a skateboard before pointing his AR-15 style rifle at him from 5 feet away. He put his hands up and, "I thought I was going to die," Grosskreutz told jurors at Rittenhouse's trial for shooting him and killing 2 other men during the chaotic protesting last summer in the Wisconsin city. But the rifle jammed, Grosskreutz said, and as Rittenhouse racked the rifle firearm, Grosskreutz decided to throw himself at Rittenhouse even though Grosskreutz was holding his own loaded Glock handgun. ADA Binger asked why he didn't shoot instead. "It's not the kind of person I am, man," Grosskreutz said. "Not the kind of person I want to become." On cross, defense attorney Corey Sheriff Vesey brought up his initial statement to police. In it, Grosskreutz said his gun had fallen from his waist where it was clipped. While he was running, he never mentioned that he was holding the loaded Glock in his right hand while Rittenhouse shot him. And that's also going to become important too, by the way, because that also frames the other aspect of the dishonesty off of here. Like, we saw in the photos, we saw in the video, we saw every angle of this particular shooting, where even while he is gripping and holding his bicep, he still has a gun in his hand. Just the same way, he said that he didn't have a round chambered, and when the gun was picked up by the former Marine, the round was chambered, ready to fire. This guy has lied on the stand, and if he doesn't wind up sitting in a cell for perjury, then perjury has no meaning anymore. But all this comes out here, and they don't talk about this until 4 or 5 paragraphs in, when Soccer Mom America has looked at this and said, "Oh my God, that poor paramedic, look at him." He thought he was gonna die. He blew his arm apart. He was staring down the scary assault rifle. So, we'll see what happens off of this. Like I said, I know that we still have the aspect of this where we talk about whether or not the Rosenbaum thing sticks. Which it probably won't because of the mindset and everything else that went in off of this. But that is the only thing the prosecution has left, is trying to make sure that the Rosenbaum shooting sticks as a homicide. That's it. Huber and Grosskreutz, those are out the window. Those are off the table at this point. Unless there's shenanigans with the jury. And there's already been talk, too, where people online are coming out and say, we've seen the jurors, we have the names of all of them, and we will make sure that they're protested if they don't give us the outcome that they want. From Newsweek, Kyle Rittenhouse defenders are saying this is the moment the prosecution collapsed. A key part of the testimony from Gaige Grosskreutz, who was shot by Rittenhouse in Kenosha on August 2020, proved that the 18-year-old was acting in self-defense when he fired, supporters of the defendant have argued. Grosskreutz took to the stand on Monday to give evidence in the trial of Rittenhouse, who was accused of shooting the 28-year-old during a Black Lives Matter protest and killing 2 others. The prosecution hoped that Grosskreitz's testimony would show that the then 17-year-old was not in Kenosha that day in order to protect the Wisconsin city or help those injured, but he was in fact one of the facilitators of the violence. Really? Because he was walking up and down the street saying that he was a medic and asking if anybody needed help. That kind of shoots that idea in the fucking eye. While being chased down the street after shooting and killing Rosenbaum, footage from the scene shows Rittenhouse falling to the ground and being descended on by Huber, who hits him with a skateboard. On Monday, Grosskreutz told the jury how he thought Rittenhouse was an active shooter that night, adding that he thought, "I was going to die." So, and there's the video of this, which we'll come back here and watch this once again, because it's so delicious to watch the epic facepalm.
Murder charges.
He just exhaled. Kyle just, oh, he looks like he's gonna.
It wasn't until you pointed your gun at him, advanced on him, with your gun, now your hands down, pointed at him, that he fired, right?
Correct.
Oh shit! That's it.
That's it.
Directed
That's
verdict. Directed verdict on all the murder charges. Kyle knows.
Yeah.
Directed verdict on the murder charges.
He just exhaled. Kyle just, oh, he looks like he's gonna cry.
How do you not acquit after that?
Look at him. All right, last one from a queued up video here as well, close towards the end. I'm actually going to back it up just a little bit. Or maybe I'm not. But let's read from them first. Gaige Grosskreutz, whose bicep was vaporized by Rittenhouse, testifies that he pointed a gun at Rittenhouse before the defendant fired at him. From Dave Urbanski. Gaige Grosskreutz, the man Kyle Rittenhouse wounded during summer 2020 rioting in Kenosha, testified on Monday that he pointed a gun at Rittenhouse before Rittenhouse fired at him, the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel reported. Defense attorney Corey Shirapisi got Grosskreutz to admit that several statements that he made to police after the shooting, including incorrect details, or admitted others, the paper said. One big apparent omission was that Grosskreutz pointed the gun at Rittenhouse before Rittenhouse fired on him, the Journal-Sentinel reported. Adding that Grosskreutz initially told police that he dropped his gun at some point during the incident, never mentioning it, he pointed it at Rittenhouse. Here's part of the testimony during which Grosskreutz said that Rittenhouse vaporized his bicep.
These been marked as exhibits?
These have been, that's what I was saying.
So, Mr. Grosskreutz, I'm gonna
show you what has been marked as Exhibit 67. That's a photo of you, yes?
Yes.
Okay. That's Mr. Rittenhouse?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you'd agree your firearm is pointed at Mr. Rittenhouse, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And once your firearm is pointed at Mr. Rittenhouse, that's when he fires his gun. Yes?
No.
Sir, look, I don't want to... Does this look like right now your arm is being shot?
That looks like my bicep being vaporized. Vaporized, yes.
Okay. And it's being vaporized as you're pointing your gun directly at him. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so when you were standing 3 to 5 feet from him with your arms up in the air, he never fired, right?
Correct.
It wasn't until you pointed your gun at him, advanced on him, with your gun, now your hands down, pointed at him, that he fired, right?
Correct.
And unfortunately, Live Now from Fox cut out the epic face palm off of that. Because at which point the camera turns around and finds Mr. Binger.
Your EMT license.
Shut up. And the other prosecutor out there. So, we will see what the state of Wisconsin today comes back to pull back out of this one. But, yeah. We might get a verdict today if it's directed. And if we can't go back and do anything with the Rosenbaum thing, that is the only thing they have left. That's it. And even that's on shaky ground right now. So let's shift gears and let's move on to something else. Now that we've spent, what have we spent? Almost an hour talking about Kyle Rittenhouse. Just because I wanted to watch. Can I get away with that one more time? The epic facepalm. Oh hell, I'm the producer. I run the show. Of course I can get away with it. Hold on. I need a sound effect for this. Let's watch this one more time. Back it up. A little bit more.
On the murder charges.
He just exhaled. Kyle he looks like he's gonna cry.
How do you not acquit after that?
Look at him over there. Look at him. It's done. All right, let's talk about Biden. From CNBC, White House tells businesses to proceed with vaccine mandate despite court-ordered pause. From Spencer Kimball. The White House on Monday said businesses should move forward with President Biden's requirements for vaccines and testing for private businesses, despite a federal appeals court ordering a temporary halt to the rules. People should not wait, man. White House, no, that wasn't Biden. White House Deputy Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre told reporters during a briefing they should continue to move forward and make sure that they're getting their workplace vaccinated. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit, considered one of the most conservative appellate courts in the country, halted the requirements Saturday pending review, writing that the petitions gave cause to believe that there are grave statutory and constitutional issues with the mandate. The Republican attorneys general in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, South Carolina, and Utah, as well as several companies, requested the pause. They argued that the requirements exceed the authority of the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, which will enforce the mandates and amount to an unconstitutional delegation of power by the executive branch from Congress. In its response Monday evening, the Biden admin asked the court to lift the pause, dismissing the state's and the company's claims of harm as premature given the deadlines for vaccination and testing are not until January. The administration claimed that pausing the requirements would likely cost dozens or even hundreds of lives per day as the virus spreads. The Labor and Justice Departments also argued that OSHA acted within its authority as established by Congress. Okay, and once again, no, they did not. And people come back and they keep trying to talk about Jacobson versus Massachusetts, but that has nothing to do with what the federal executive branch can do on the enforcement. Rather, the state's coming out and requirement. Now, if let's pick on Massachusetts for a second, because the pivotal case has to do with Massachusetts. If Massachusetts comes down and says, okay, well, we want to have a vaccine requirement because we believe that the vaccine is the only way to make our workplace safe. So we're going to have our vaccine requirement here, but we're going to use OSHA fines to enforce it. You have to get 864 OSHA people to come into the state of Massachusetts to go to every business that has over 100 employees, first off. But yes, that would be within the state's purview. The pressure has to be out there for the states to do it, not the federal government. That can't just unilaterally come as a command from the executive branch. Now, yes, the states can use OSHA to enforce it. That's a completely different thing. The court order pause came a day after the requirements went into effect, starting the countdown for businesses with 100 or more employees to ensure their staff have received the shots required for full vaccination by January 4th. After that date, unvaccinated workers must submit a negative COVID-19 test weekly to enter the workplace. All unvaccinated workers must start wearing face masks indoors at the workplaces starting December 5th. Republican attorneys general in at least 26 states have challenged Biden's vaccine and testing requirements in 5 different U.S. appeals courts since last Friday. The Republican National Committee said it has also challenged the requirements to the D.C. Court of Appeals. It is unclear which court will ultimately decide the case when multiple petitions are filed at least 2 courts. The cases are consolidated in one of those courts through a lottery system. The Justice Department said in a filing Monday that the lottery is expected to take place on or around November 16th. The Biden admin, in its response Monday, said the courts should not rule until the jurisdiction for the consolidated case has been selected. I don't see why that matters, but there it is. David Vladeck, professor of law at Georgetown University, said there's a high probability that the case will end up before the Supreme Court. There are justices on the court who want to rein in the administrative state in this case, in which those concerns are likely to come to the fore, Vladeck told CNBC. OSHA, which polices the workplace safety for the Labor Department, developed the vaccine and testing requirements under emergency authority established by Congress. That authority allows the agency to shortcut the process to issue workplace safety standards, which normally takes years. So that's all the details coming off here, and basically what we're coming off with is, it's just like the eviction moratorium. The court came down and said, no, you cannot do this. And the Biden admin said, watch me, fucker. I can do whatever I want. I'm the king of America. And in a couple weeks, when they continue going down this path and continuing to push requirements, the court will come back down again and say, I told you no, motherfucker, this is beyond your purview. So good. Good. For my second chair spin of the day, archived article from the New York Times, a former newspaper. Because what did I say yesterday? When the Fifth Circuit came down and said, no, thou shalt not, I said, we will find articles on mainstream news websites everywhere telling us about how many people are dying, how horrible it is out there. And you notice they backed off on that for quite a while. Every once in a while you'll still get a one here and there in the middle of it, but they're going to start pouring these articles in, talking about all the people that are dying again, all the unvaccinated. From the New York Times, U.S. COVID deaths get even redder. From David Leonhardt. As 2020 wound down, there were good reasons to believe that the death toll during the pandemic's first year might have been worse in Red America, but there were also good reasons to think it might have been worse in Blue America. Conservative areas tend to be older, less prosperous, and more hostile to mask wearing, all of which can exacerbate the spread or severity of COVID-19. Liberal areas, for their part, are home both to more busy international airports and more Americans who suffer from the health consequences of racial discrimination. But it turned out these differences largely offset each other in 2020, or maybe they didn't matter as much as some people assumed. Either way, the per capita death toll in Blue America and Red America was similar by the final weeks of 2020. It was only a few percentage points higher in counties where Donald Trump won at least 60% of the vote than in counties where Joe Biden crossed that threshold. In counties where neither candidate won 60%, the death toll was higher than in either Trump or Biden counties. This simply was not a strong partisan pattern to COVID during the first year that was circulating in the US. Then the vaccines arrived. They proved so powerful and partisan attitudes toward them so different that a gap in COVID's death toll quickly emerged. I've covered that gap in 2 newsletters, one this summer, one last month, and today's newsletter offers an update. The brief version, the gap in COVID death toll between Red and Blue America has grown faster over the past month than at any previous point. Those evil red Republican counties. In October, 25 out of every 100,000 residents in heavily Trump counties died from COVID. More than 3 times higher than the rate in Biden counties, 7.8 per 100,000. October was the 5th consecutive month that the percentage gap between the death rates in Trump counties and Biden counties was widened. Some conservative writers have tried to claim that the gap may stem from regional differences in weather or age, but those arguments fall apart under scrutiny. If weather or age were a major reason, the pattern would have begun to appear last year. The true explanation is straightforward. The vaccines are remarkably effective at preventing severe COVID, and almost 40% of Republican adults remain unvaccinated compared with about 10% of Democratic adults. This fucking propaganda piece. Now, when especially the New York Times comes out and publishes numbers like this, I don't trust them. And the reason I don't trust them, well, it has something to do with the partisan aspect of the New York Times, a former newspaper. But for the most part, I don't trust them because the death ticker at the bottom of CNN constantly rising. I don't trust the number of people that died from COVID. I never have. Ever since I started realizing that some of the deaths are coming from the morbidly obese, the people who died of suicide, the people who died of traffic accidents, the people who were murdered, that all happen to have the COVID, which is highly transmissible. And as I said right at the beginning, follow the money. It's the same thing I've said about the vaccine mandates. Follow the money. When we found out that hospitals were getting small bonuses for every person that died in their hospital with COVID, it's not hard to go back and fudge those numbers, especially when you can go run a test and have somebody who has a mild to asymptomatic case who put his 357 in his mouth and swallowed, that suddenly died with COVID. Oh, hey, this person passed away, but he did so, and oh, it was totally in the hospital. No, he was totally alive when the ambulance got him here. And oh, look, oh, we did the swab on what was left of his throat, and oh, he had COVID when he died. Oh, he was a COVID death. I don't trust these numbers, not for a second. Not for a moment do I trust these numbers. But as I said, as soon as the mandate got slapped down, the silence that we heard about the people that are dying about the vaccines, the people that are dying that aren't getting the vaccines, those stories went away. But as soon as the mandate got slapped down, there it is, the New York Times front and center. All right, what else do we have here? From Insider, this comes to us from our friend Leibt. One chart shows the most common side effects for kids after each dose of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. From Arya Bendix. At long last, kids are starting to filter into pharmacies and clinics for COVID-19 shots. The FDA authorized a lower dose of Pfizer's vaccine for emergency use in children ages 5 to 11 in October. Then last week, the CDC greenlit the shot for the younger age group nearly a year after the first Americans started receiving the pinko-fucking-pox jab. Kids receive 1/3 of the standard dose of the mRNA shot given to adults, 10 micrograms versus 30 micrograms. Because of that, children can generally expect fewer side effects. The chart below shows the most common side effects among kids ages 5 to 11 in Pfizer's clinical trial. And we have percentages as well. Side effects are fatigue, 34%, headache, 22%, muscle pain, 9%, diarrhea, 6%, chills, 5%, joint pain, 3%, fever, 3%, and there are a few more, but of course archived, so it got cut off. When we add on to the second dose, fatigue goes to 39%, headache to 28%, muscle pain to 12%, diarrhea actually drops a little bit to 5%, chills to 10%, joint pain up to 5%, and fever up to 7%. So, for the most part, we do see some fairly mild side effects, but, we also, they're uncommon. I will say this, but they can happen. And I'm waiting to see what happens with this, where this goes. And I know that all we see is clinical trials right now, too. That's the other thing. Because the vaccine hasn't been approved for kids long enough for it to be out there and widespread. But I'm waiting to see what happens, especially with healthy males. Where do the blood clots come, if they do come? Or if this is just a thing that goes through and probably is tied to puberty. Because that seems to be the age group that's getting it. It's the pubescent and post-pubescent boys. 13 to 18. 13 to 22 for the most part. Fatigue was by far the most prevalent side effect. More than 1/3 of kids reported it after the first or second dose. Roughly 1/4 of kids also reported headaches after getting either dose. Overall, kids reported more side effects, including muscle pain, chills, and fever after dose 2 than dose 1. That's likely because the second shot amplifies the existing immune response. However, an uncommon side effect, vomiting, had the same rate of occurrence, 2% after the first dose, as it did after the second. Kids had more redness and swelling at the injection site, but adults had more headaches and fatigue. Kids' milder side effects were similar to those reported among older people. In Pfizer's clinical trials, adolescents and younger adults, on the other hand, typically experience more intense and frequent side effects after their shots. There's one notable exception, though. Kids aged 5 to 11 had more redness and swelling at the injection site than adolescents or adults. Children also reported more pain at the injection site after the first dose than after the second dose. So a few things off of this. I mean, from my understanding, is that pain and redness indicates that your body's rejecting whatever it is you're putting into there, but I'm also not a doctor. That's just my layman's understanding. But that's what we see off the side effects. And look, the CDC says it's okay, but there again, follow the money. If you're a parent, you assess the individual risk of your children. That's your job as a parent. I'm not telling you not to go and get your kids to go out and do this. I'm telling you you've got a hard choice to make, because there are serious side effects and heart problems and everything else and every goddamn other thing that could come to this. But is it worse than getting the coof? I can't decide that for you. I can't. I know a lot of pundits out there are trying to say that they have the definitive source as to what can be done about this. A lot of pundits say this is their decision to make for you. Don't get your kids vaccinated. Don't go get vaccinated yourself. I could start naming names of pundits. I can't make this decision for you. I can't. This is a decision between you, your family, and your doctor and your pediatrician. Those are the ones who need to come together, make a collaboration, and make a decision for you. Not me, not a guy who yells into his microphone. That is the bottom line. Consult your doctor. Consult your doctor, consult your value set, and decide for yourself if this is best for you or not. Let's grab one here from our friends over at National Progressive Radio. Moving on to a local level, strict mandate takes effect in Los Angeles. business patrons must show proof of vaccination. And this comes to us from the Associated Press to National Progressive Radio, and even though they're using the Associated Press, they still need your money to buy quiet microphones to help you sleep while you're on the road. So make sure you pick up and hit that donation button. Get them your money, I mean our money, comrade, because our taxpayer money is not enough. NPR, National Progressive Radio. Let's see what the Associated Press has to say. People entering a wide variety of businesses in the city of Los Angeles had to show proof of vaccination starting Monday as one of the country's strictest measures aimed at slowing the spread of the pinko fucking pox took effect. The new rule covers businesses ranging from restaurants to shopping malls and theaters to nail and hair salons. At Blue Bottle Coffee, the city's Los Feliz neighborhood, a sign on the front door reminded patrons to show proof of vaccination for permission to enter to eat indoors. No. Fuck off. Manager Matthew Cadena said the morning rush was mostly smooth as customers handed over their vaccine cards or showed photos of the cards on their cell phones. Some patrons had images of their vaccine cards on their phones' home screens. Wow. Wow. How religiously indoctrinated do you have to be to have this on your home screen? How indoctrinated do you have to be for that? Most people are accommodating and understanding, Cadena said. The mandate was anticipated at Bodybuilder's Gym in the Silver Lake neighborhood, where employees for months have logged the vaccination status of patrons in an internal system, so the proof allegedly is already verified the next time the members come to the gym. Manfred Del Cid, the gym's assistant general manager, said many patrons volunteered to show their proof before the mandate started. It seems like our demographic wants to know that they're safe, he said. LA is among the growing number of cities across the U.S., including San Francisco and New York City, requiring people to show proof of vaccination to enter businesses and venues. But rules in the nation's second most populous city, called Safe Pass LA, apply to more types of businesses and other indoor locations, including museums and convention centers. The regulations went into force as new infection cases have inched up in California following a sharp decline from August peak, driven by the Delta variant. November was the time of the year in 2020 when the worst spike of the pinko fucking pox was beginning in California. By January of this year, 500 people were dying every day in the state. Los Angeles became the state's infection epicenter after hospitals were so overloaded with patients and ambulances idled outside with people struggling to breathe, waiting for beds to open up. So many people died in Los Angeles that morgues reached capacity and refrigerated trucks were brought in to handle the overflow. That stark scene was playing out as coronavirus vaccines finally arrived in California and Los Angeles moved aggressively to inoculate people. I have a question. This may be a little bit cold of me to ask. This actually might be just a little bit of an ice cream thing to say. But if you were losing 500 people a day, so let's throw these numbers out there for a half a second. You're losing 500 people a day. So in a given month, especially if we get to November, that's 15,000 people in just a month. Outside of what you had before and after all this. Why is there a housing crisis still in Los Angeles? Between the people who were moving and running away, and in enough of a fashion that California lost a congressional seat. Why is there still a housing crisis? Among LA County's roughly 10 million people, 80% of eligible residents have now received at least one COVID-19 vaccine dose, and 71% of those eligible are fully vaccinated, according to public health officials. To guard against anything resembling the January carnage, the LA City Council voted 11-2 last month to approve the ordinance, requiring people 12 and older to be fully vaccinated to enter indoor public spaces, including sports arenas, museums, spas, indoor city facilities, and other locations. Negative tests within 72 hours of entry to those establishments are required for people with religious or medical exemptions for vaccinations. Customers without proof can still use outdoor facilities and can briefly enter a business to use a restroom or pick up food orders. Oh, I'm so glad that we have your permission off of this. Jeez, and this is what they want to do for the rest of the country here, you guys. And you don't think that there's going to be a speakeasy culture that pops up because of this? You don't think that people are going to find a way to go back and gather without this, no matter what it is you do? And yes, of course, the Los Angeles narcs are going to be in there. And they're going to find the speakeasies. They're gonna look in here. They're going to find the unvaccinated, and they'll bring the Gestapo in. And the Los Angeles Police Department and Sheriff's Department will come in. Well, the collaborators, I'm sure there'll be resistance among them, will come in and say, "Aye! Let me in here. Where are you hiding your unvaccinated? Where is it? I say, in the floorboards. I say in the attic. Show me yours with the gold star. Where are they? I am losing my patience with you." On the other end of this, speaking of another California boy, State Farm stands by Aaron Rodgers after his vaccine comments, respects his right to have his own point of view, from Christine Brennan. So, story I didn't cover last week just because we spent so much time on the Rittenhouse thing is that Rodgers was disqualified from playing in last week's game, in which the Packers appeared to have gotten slaughtered. I don't know, I don't watch football right now. In fact, I am unlikely to go back right now just based on the fact that it looks like they're trying to do the WWE thing and put the drama out on front, and Aaron Rodgers is going to be the first heel. I don't even believe that he's unvaccinated, dude. I think he's playing the heel, especially if he's giving it to Shailene Woodley, who I will admit looks really good. But I'm sure that she's got, I mean, yes, I know people have said that she's really granola and she's probably unvaccinated too. I don't think so. I think she's indoctrinated to the leftoid cause of let's get everybody vaccinated. So I'm sure that she's got him brainwashed, but hey, it makes her a really good heel, and the NFL gets to go back and sell those jerseys to the people who burned their jerseys during the St. Jacob riots. Hallowed be his name. I did not burn my jersey. It is in a drawer and it has never graced my body since the St. Jacob riots. I have watched a full 10 minutes of football since the St. Jacob riots, just so you know. Given a chance to repudiate the lies and misinformation spread last week about COVID-19 vaccines by Green Bay Packers quarterback and company pitchman Aaron Rodgers, State Farm punted. Aaron Rodgers has been a great ambassador for our company for much of the past decade, a company spokeswoman said in a statement to USA Today Sports Monday morning. We don't support some of the statements that he's made, but we respect his right to have his own personal point of view. We recognize our customers, employees, agents, and brand ambassadors come from all walks of life with differing viewpoints on many issues. Our mission at State Farm is to support safer, stronger communities. To that end, we encourage vaccinations, but respect everyone's right to make a choice based on their personal circumstances. Hear, hear. Nonetheless, Apex Marketing Group reported that only 1.5% of State Farm ads had Rodgers in them on Sunday, down from 25% of State Farm ads the two previous Sundays. State Farm's tepid reaction was far different from the reactions of other Rodgers sponsor, Previa Health, a healthcare company in Wisconsin, which ended its partnership with Rodgers on Saturday. So, there's that. Good on State Farm. And that's one thing that I've noticed here is, I mean, you know, a lot of the leftoid argument for the vaccines is, well, look, all your heroes have vaccines already. Donald Trump is fully vaccinated. Yes, but he's also came out and said, and I don't trust him as far as I can throw him either, but he's also come out and said, okay, I am fully vaccinated. I got the vaccine, but I don't want them to use government force to tell you to go get it. You should go and get it. It's a wonderful vaccine. It's a great vaccine. It was developed under my presidency, the greatest presidency. It's a tremendous vaccine. But the government shouldn't be forcing you to get it. You should want to go and get it on your own. Which is what I've been saying since the beginning. You should want to go and get this. If you are going to make a medical decision, it should be something that you want, not something that comes with government force. And if it's a good idea, it doesn't have to be forced. From WGAL, which I believe is out of Georgia. Doesn't say. No, it's out of Lancaster, I'm sorry. I was going to say, I don't think it's 40 degrees in Georgia right now. I don't think it's as low as 40 degrees here, to be completely honest. Why is it colder in Pennsylvania than it is in Wisconsin? I don't know. Tom Wolf to lift state school mask mandate in January. From Tom Lehman. Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf will lift the state school mask mandate on January 17, 2022. On that date, Wolf's administration will turn over decisions about masking to local school officials, where they always belonged in the first place. The school mask order has been a critical measure in ensuring Pennsylvania's children could safely learn and grow in an in-person classroom setting at the beginning of the school year, Wolf said in a prepared statement. During the announcement, my administrators made clear that we would continue to reevaluate the status of the school mask mandate. Now we are in a different place than we were in September, and it's time to prepare for a transition back to a more normal setting. Unfortunately, the pinko pox is now part of our daily lives, but with the knowledge we've gained over the past 20 months and critical tools like the vaccine at our disposal, we must take the step forward in our recovery. With more than 70% of adults vaccinated in Pennsylvania and the recently expanded vaccine eligibility, I strongly encourage parents to take safety measures to protect your children and your family, like getting vaccinated. I mean, is Tom Wolf making sense? No, you should go out and do it for yourself. You shouldn't have to have government force to come back out and do this. Good on Tom Wolf. And I don't care for Tom Wolf, but when he's doing the right thing, he's doing the right thing. I am vaccinated, and I think you should get vaccinated, but I don't think we need the police to come out and force the needle into your arm. From the Hill. Democrats debate whether they misread public on mandate. This is interesting. From Brett Samuels. Tuesday's election results prompted some soul-searching among Democrats about whether the party misread the public's desire for sweeping change. The introspection has picked up after the party suffered losses up and down the ballot on Tuesday, giving a reason for some to pause and consider if the party's agenda has anything to do with the losses and is out of step with the wider public. Fuck you, I was right, fuck you! Okay, sorry, still not my bit. Republicans are only too glad to say Democrats misread the mandate from President Biden's victory a year ago, Hong Kong, over former President Trump. Hong Kong, most popular president in history, Hong Kong. More votes than Barack Obama. Democrats also retook the Senate majority after victories in a pair of special elections, Hong Kong, in Georgia on January, though they lost seats in the House a year ago, Honk. The economy was the big issue with voters, according to exit polls. It's not rocket science, said Dan Eberhardt, a GOP fundraiser, coming out of a more than a year of shutdowns and uncertainty. Voters are not looking for a radical change, and they certainly aren't looking for the wild spending and social reform the Democrats are pursuing. Voters are open to incremental change, but not wholesale change. Fuck you! I was right. Tuesday was a dismal day for Democrats. Glenn Youngkin triumphed over in the Virginia gubernatorial race, while Phil Murphy squeaked out a closer-than-expected win. Longtime New Jersey State Senator Steve Sweeney lost to an opponent who barely spent money on the race. Progressive politicians and causes also suffered some losses. In Buffalo, Democrat Socialist India Walton lost to incumbent Mayor Byron Brown after he mounted a write-in campaign when he lost the Democrat Party to Walton earlier on in the year. Now, this is an older article. This is a couple days old at this point. But this is absolutely what they needed to be doing. They need to come out and look at this and say, are we doing too much too fast? I unfortunately believe that the Democrats' agenda is acceptable to most Americans as long as it goes in slowly and in increments. I think we need to take some time and educate the American people as to why the government doesn't give two flying fucks about you. But they generally see these things as a good idea. They just can't come and bolster them in like a fucking bull, causing inflation, causing spending, causing the debt ceiling to go back up and rise out of fucking nowhere. And they know, they've figured out, well, hopefully they figured out that they don't have the mandate that they think they do, to just come in and do whatever the fuck it is that they want. I hope this is a good thing. But as we keep hearing from mainstream news outlets, I don't think that they've learned a damn thing from this. And it seems like they're going to triple down and say, okay, well, we need to spend money faster and harder. And more progressivism. Pelosi stops mid-speech after Republican laughs at claim that Build Back Better bill will reduce the debt. From Chris Pandolfo. Speaker of the House, Skeletor, the Crypt Keeper, snapped back at a member of Congress who laughed at her claim during the floor speech that President Biden's multi-trillion-dollar spending proposal would reduce the debt. On Friday, Pelosi spoke in the House of Representatives extolling the claimed benefits of the Democrats' $1.75 trillion spending proposal for Biden's Build Back Better agenda. No, fuck off, Doocy. I don't want to listen to you. You know we're going to listen to it. Maybe. Glenn? Your website is fucking up again. Come on, you. Okay, maybe we're not going to listen to this. There it goes. Let's try this again. Go away. Take two and action. Okay, maybe we're not going to listen to this. All right, let's keep going. See, this is what happens, by the way, when you run your website and make everybody whitelist you. And allow all the ads on there. Because look at all the ads over there. You know, this wouldn't be taking up this much memory if we didn't have all these ads every fucking where on here.
It will be one of the most significant legislative undertakings that any of us have ever been part of. And I say that with great proprietary attitude toward the Affordable Care Act, was transformative and historic. This is even bigger than that. In fact, it strengthens the Affordable Care Act. So if you're talking about how we want to have immediate and enduring difference for the workers and families, creating jobs, securing middle-class tax cuts, lowering costs for families, and making the wealthiest pay their fair share, all the while contributing to reducing the national debt, making everyone pay their fair share. Did I hear a laugh over there? Did I hear a laugh from those who added $2 trillion in tax cuts for the richest people in America, 1%, 83% of it going to the top 1%? This is paid for, and more.
Did I hear a laugh over there? And do I have to banish you down to the gates of hell? Will you come into my crypt? Dude, Pelosi, I mean, she didn't look good coming into this, but this term, and this has only been 10 months, this has been rough on Pelosi. Look at her. Pelosi is not doing well at all. Holy shit. All right. From Fox News. Attention, leftoids in the chat. I'm using Fox News. Come out with your ire. CNN's April Ryan asked Pete Buttigieg to address the racism built into our roadways. The roads, they are racist. From Lindsay Cornick. White House correspondent April Ryan was ridiculed on Monday after asking Transportation Secretary Pete Buttplug about racism built into the roadways. During the White House press briefing, Buttplug was taking questions about the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which passed through Congress last week. Ryan took the opportunity to ask Buttplug about the Biden admin's plans to deconstruct the racism that's built into America's infrastructure. Also, can you give a construct of how you would deconstruct the racism that was built into roadways? Ryan asked. Ryan then referenced an earlier interview Buttplug gave to the Grio in April when he said there's racism physically built into some of our roadways. Let's listen.
You give us the construct of how you will deconstruct the racism that was built into the roadways that you talked to the Grio earlier when you broke that information with us. Can you talk to us about how that could be deconstructed?
For sure, yeah. So the principle of Justice 40 is that at least 40% of the clean investments in this bill will go to benefit the communities that are overburdened and underserved. So part one of that is defining those investments that are eligible, and that's a lot of it, and we're working to map out kind of program by program, mode by mode, what would qualify. For example, if we're buying clean buses, right, how do we make sure in terms of where those buses go, but also looking at the business opportunity, the jobs that are going to be created, the businesses that will have a chance to compete for the business opportunities it creates. That, too, I think is a very important element of equity here that's in the spirit of Justice 40. And again, we have a lot of guidance and oversight from the White House since that's an administration-wide initiative. But we know that we've got to build our own internal kind of ways of aligning and defining that inside the administration. As to where we target those dollars, you know, I'm still surprised that some people were surprised when I pointed to the fact that if a highway was built for the purpose of dividing a white and a black neighborhood, or if an underpass was constructed such that a bus carrying mostly black and Puerto Rican kids to a beach, or that would have been, in New York was designed too low for it to pass by, that obviously reflects racism that went into those design choices. I don't think we have anything to lose by confronting that simple reality, and I think we have everything to gain by acknowledging it and then dealing with it, which is why the Reconnecting Communities, that $1 billion, is something we want to get to work right away, putting to work.
But that's such a heavy lift. I mean, you have to reconnect.
That is a buck of an allegation right there. That these roadways were built with the express purpose of dividing black and white neighborhoods and making sure that the buses, they can't get down there to the beach. That is one hell of an allegation. And I would love to see something back that up. To come back out and say, oh yeah, no. Yes, this absolutely was the thing. Now, most of the people who designed these roadways are probably deceased at this point, and you're never going to be. But I would love to see the notes that come out and say, hey, yeah, no, yeah, we're going to build this overpass here and keep those brown kids away from the beach. Is the subway not a thing in New York, by the way? Is that not a thing? Because I was the understanding that's how everyone got around anyway. I didn't even know there were city buses in New York. I thought everyone just took the subway. All right. This appears to be all the same news, and we're running up on the clock here. Let's grab this one here from CNN. Democrats urge Biden to consider tapping emergency oil reserves or even ban oil exports to fight high gas prices. From Matt Egan. Nearly a dozen Senate Democrats called on President Biden on Monday to fight high gas prices by considering a release of barrels from the nation's emergency oil stockpile, or even taking the more extreme step of banning oil exports. Why? Why do you want to ban... Well, I know why you want to ban exports here, because... Oh, well, the economy is fine. We just need to make sure our own oil is... In the letter, Senators Warren, Brown, and Reid, and others warned that the 7-year high in gas prices has placed an undue burden on families and small businesses trying to make ends meet. In light of these pressing concerns, we ask that you consider all tools available at your disposal to lower U.S. gasoline prices. This includes a release from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve and a ban on crude oil exports, the lawmakers wrote. Industry experts are skeptical that tapping the SPR would deal a lasting blow to gas prices. It wouldn't. And they have warned that banning oil exports could backfire on the U.S. consumers. Correct. The national average price of gasoline rose to $3.42 a gallon on Monday, up from $2.11 a year ago, according to AAA. The Democrats said they share the Biden admin's concerns that the decision by OPEC and others to purposely manipulate gas prices by constraining supply, as well as the choice of domestic leaseholders and producers to continue to export U.S. petroleum, threatens to send already record prices even higher. Continued U.S. exports and overseas supply collusion could be devastating to many in our states, the Democrats wrote. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm confirmed to CNN's Dana Bash over the weekend that the SPR is one of the tools Biden has and is looking at that. Granholm suggested action could come as soon as Tuesday when a new government forecast on energy supply and demand is due out. Yet oil watchers have said tapping the SPR will not solve the underlying problem. Supply is struggling to keep up with demand. Goldman Sachs has previously estimated that an SPR release would be of modest help, lowering the bank's year-end forecast for Brent oil, the global benchmark, by just $3 a barrel. Correct. The best thing that you could do is A, not shut down another fucking pipeline, but B, get the other one back open and flowing so we can get the oil down here without having to put it on a truck or a rail. Freeing some of those truckers up, by the way, to go take care of your other supply chain issues. Because if the semi or the rail car doesn't have to hold oil into it, it can hold a whole bunch of other stuff. A bunch of other stuff. So get that open back up and get things flowing again. Yes, I understand the fact that you're moving everyone out to electric vehicles. I get that. We're not there yet, and if they spend all their money on gas, they can't afford the down payment on their new Tesla electric vehicle. And yes, if this infrastructure bill goes through and the oil prices are still the same, you're not going to get jack shit out of the infrastructure money that you're putting in there. Out of the $1 billion that you're actually using for infrastructure, you are not going to get jack shit out of it. You'll have to pull money away from your donors and the kickbacks away from your big business buddies. All right, what else do we have? We're up on the clock right now. What else do we want to do? What else do we want to do? This one? I think we can do that one. Yeah, we'll do these last two here, then we'll head out of here for the day. We'll catch the last couple after this, but let's do this one here. So, let's get this backed up to the beginning. Former Secretary of Labor Elaine and person who has the undesirable task of fucking Mitch McConnell, and not the way that I suggest every time he does something stupid, by the way, just said on Bloomberg TV that workers have a patriotic duty to take jobs companies can't fill. What about an employer's patriotic duty to provide jobs with a decent wage and benefits? Says Eve Taminchoglu. I don't even know how to say that, but let's listen to the former labor secretary.
So this is a real issue. As the economy continues to recover, we're going to need these workers to do their patriotic duty to come back and help the economy to come back. So this is a real issue as the economy continues.
Okay. There is no patriotic duty to take a job. You have no patriotic duty to do so. To take a job, you come to a situation where you make an agreement with an employer based on the value of the skill that you bring to the employer and the reserves and the ability that the employer has to pay you. You do a balancing act between a number of different things, mostly on value and cash on hand, to decide whether or not it is worth it for you to take the job for the wage that you're looking for, or if you can negotiate down and come to some sort of middleman. You don't have a patriotic duty to take a job. You don't. I mean, if going back and living with mommy and daddy is acceptable for you, then go back and live with mommy and daddy. I'm sure they'll love to have the little man back in their house. So, no. This is incorrect. No, Elaine Chow, you are wrong. There's no patriotic duty to take these jobs. But neither is there a patriotic duty for employers to pay more than the job is worth. So, to you, Eve, also, you can go and fuck yourself too. You are both you and Elaine Chow are both so far wrong on this. You have no idea what's anything. And the patriotic duty suggests that the government should have some involvement in doing this too. That's the worst part of this. Both of these people, this neocon fucking rhino and this super fucking progressive, believe that the government has some sort of say in the private market. They don't. Demand, skill level, and cash on hand. Those are what drive whether or not you have a duty to go and take this job, and the needs of your home and household. And then this one here, because Arbolt brought this one up in the Discord. By the way, if you guys are not in the Discord, make sure you guys go and check out the Discord, which is a great place for you to leave articles like this one that we're going to read about here. Mike Bird tweets out, Vietnam's Minister of Public Security made a pilgrimage to Karl Marx's grave on his trip to London, and then went to Salt Bay's restaurant for the gold leaf steak. You can't make this up. Reading from theindependent.co.uk. Vietnamese minister fed 1,450 pound, and that's pound sterling, not an actual pound steak, but thinking of the fact that there might be a 1,450 pound steak out there makes me drool. That could keep me eating for a while. Gold-plated steak after laying flowers at Karl Marx's grave. From Ella Glover. Vietnam's Minister of Public Security has been criticized for eating a slice of 1,450 pound sterling gold-plated steak at Salt Bay's London restaurant just a day after laying flowers at Karl Marx's grave. To Lam was seen eating at the Instagram-famous chef's London restaurant, Nusser Et restaurant in Knightsbridge, which has been criticized for being outrageously overpriced. A table of four recently left dinner at the restaurant after being presented with a bill of 37,023 pounds sterling, translated to about $50,888 US. According to a post shared to Reddit's London subreddit. Celebrities like Gemma Collins have lamented the price of Salt Bay steaks. Miss Collins said she spent 1,450 pounds sterling on a gold-wrapped tomahawk steak, the same dish being served to the Vietnamese delegates. A video, which has been since taken down, was posted to Salt Bay's official TikTok showing To Lam being fed a piece of gold-plated steak by the chef himself. General To Lam has led delegation to the UN's COP26 climate summit in Glasgow, Scotland, before heading to London to dine at Salt Bay's restaurant. The steak has been shown eating costs more than his monthly wage, which is between £442 and £590 before allowances. While it's unclear who footed the bill or how much it cost, the video was shared online despite being deleted, inviting criticism of the minister. Vietnam's Ho Chi Minh City was experiencing food shortages and overwhelmed hospitals amid a total coronavirus lockdown in September. And he doesn't want you to eat this steak either, because the methane could cause global warming from the cow farts. You can't make this up. Alright, let's do Twitter trending. Let's head out of here for the day, because we are overlapped too far on the Daily Ignoramus. So, to the Explore page we go, to the trending page. Come here. And off we go. Trending number 1, Comcast. Oh, this is going to be good. I don't even know why they're trending, but Breaking: major Comcast outage impacting people across the country. This is apparently affecting internet and phone service via CBS Philly. Comcast with the straight up lies. You're the most cooperative and understanding company I've ever chatted with. Internet down at 11:59 U.S. major cities. Comcast. Looks like a lot of this is up in the East Coast area, which looks like some in New England and New York. Which might be why we had troubles with banning last night, by the way. Hotspots in California. Looks like there was a little bit close to here too, but not much. Can confirm Comcast Xfinity service in Santa Rosa, California is down hard currently, which this was 9 hours ago, which would have been just about the time the Red Net show was going on. So that's probably what was going on with banning. And there's a bigger outage map off of here. I have Charter, so that's not where I was outaged at, but yeah, it does look like this did cover our area as well. All right, trend number 2. Dean Stockwell. Dean Stockwell dies. Quantum Leap star was 85. To me, Dean Stockwell always radiated a certain kind of playful kindness that made it easier to follow whatever character he played down the rabbit hole. A tremendous strength was taking on such diverse roles. Sad he's no longer with us, but grateful the performances he leaves behind. I guess I'll have to go watch Quantum Leap after this. Maybe he'll stream now that he's passed away. So F's in the chat for Dean Stockwell. Next one. Jokic. Nikola Jokic and Markieff Morris were both ejected from the game after 2 exchanged hard fouls. Well, let's watch. Yeah, that looks like it hurt a little bit. Apparently he spent the whole night smacking people in the face as well. So those of you who are NBA fans probably know what went on with this. I don't, because I'm not an NBA fan. Next one, we skip the Tuesday vibes, Tuesday thoughts. Sununu. New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu announces he will not run for Senate against Democrat Senator Maggie Hassan in 2022, but plans to run for re-election as governor. So we will not have Governor Sununu. All right, is that the last one? No, we got one more. Gosar. Gosar is trending. Representative Paul Gosar shares what appears to be a political advertisement set to the theme song of the popular anime show Attack on Titan. Yeah, so with this, I want to see if we can find the tweet. The tweet violated the Twitter rules about hateful conduct. However, the Twitter has determined it may be in the public's interest for the tweet to remain accessible. Paul Gosar says the creativity of my team is off the hook. So Highleaf rather, was talking about this in a Discord chat last night while I was prepping for the show here. Walmart is using fully driverless trucks to ramp up its online grocery business. We will have to go look at that in just a sec. They were talking about this last night. I didn't see this, but now we're about to. We're about to look at this together and learn what this was together. And I'm not an anime fan, so this might not make any sense to me. Oh god, that's cringe already. Cortez's face. Oh God. Why? Why? I have so many questions. My first question is, why is this a hateful conduct warning? That's the first thing I have to come back and figure out off of this is why. Why is this hateful conduct? This is animated. Yes, it's animated violence, and there was a lot worse than this against the former president. This is animated. And this is actually showing some of the problems that we have going on with this country, too. I would appeal this if it was me. There's no reason that this violates hateful conduct rules other than, you know, a machine coming out here or trying to appease to the fucking mob. Why? It's actually, I thought it was fairly creative. I'm not going to argue against the creativity of what they did with this, but why does Twitter have to do... Because it shows migrants without kissing their ass, says Quest Fanning. Well, that's it. That's your hateful video for the day. Let's finish up. Let's get out of here. I never turn the volume down after I outro out of here. Alright, so thanks everybody who came by and chatted with me today, hung out with me, talked about the Rittenhouse case and everything else that went with that. Thanks very much. And also thanks to my guest co-host, Quest Fanning, for coming in and sitting down with me last night and, well, talking about the news with me as well, as best as he could with the Comcast outage that they had over in New York. Apparently we broke the internet is what they're saying in the chat, so thank you for that as well. I will be back here tomorrow morning with more updates on the Rittenhouse case. Hey, we might get a directed verdict today. We don't know. This is a day-to-day thing at this point, but that's what we see coming out of this. And more news, more headlines, the stuff we have to catch up from today, and hopefully not as much cringe as we ended out this show with today. So we will see you then. Until then, you guys, take care. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.